This may very well be the first senior speech written in the parking lot of an urgent care facility. On my way to the park earlier, I crashed my bike and face planted in an effort to avoid a car that pulled out in front of me. I'm currently sitting with my foot up as there's a large chunk of skin missing from my right ankle. My lip has about a half-inch gash in it, which is slowly leaking blood into the paper towel I have shoved under my mask. One of my bottom teeth is a bit wiggly, but please don't tell my mom that. I've never been the safest person ever. Some of my hobbies include mountain biking, wildfire journalism, and whitewater kayaking, to name a few. While I am able to participate in these activities without incident for the majority of the time, there have been a few casualties. Last semester, my middle school friends and I decided it would be a great idea to go on a kayak camping trip way up in the sticks of Mendocino County. We spent an entire month planning the trip, and I became the resident expert on river flow rates and checked them every day to see when the optimal current would arrive. We bought dry bags, inflatable boats, and plenty of snacks. Eventually, the perfect weekend came. A recent rainstorm arrived, and the Eel River was flowing at a speedy 1,500 cubic feet per second through Dos Rios, the town where we would enter the river. We packed our cars with gear and made the 3-hour drive from Santa Rosa up to the river. I must admit that while I do take risks, I still get nervous. Truthfully, I had never gone through the type of rapids we were projected to go through on a regular kayak, let alone an inflatable one. All it would take was one sharp rock to puncture the boat and I'd be toast. As we arrived at the river, we were now faced with the task of bringing the boats down to the water from the car. There were only 3 of us, so we decided to make the trek down to the water in one go. As we waddled down to the river, we waved goodbye to our ride as they were going to meet us later in the day at the endpoint. We made it to the water and filled our boats with all of our supplies for the day. The current was much faster than I had expected, rivaling the somewhat tame Russian River that I'm used to back in Sonoma County. Soon enough, we were off. We paddled into the current and were immediately rocketed down the river. This was the first kayaking trip we had gone on where I was the guide. Smart, I know. I was given this position not because I entirely knew what I was doing, but because I was the only one who had actually been kayaking before. In the distance, an old railroad bridge approached. I didn't really think anything of it at the time, but as we got closer, I saw that there could be something under the water that I was about to collide with. I quickly jammed my paddle into the water and tried to swerve the boat right. Bad idea. Would not recommend. The boat just straight up flipped, and I was immediately thrown into a torrent of water. The good news is, I was prepared for this. All of my gear was strapped to the boat, all of the food and my phone were in dry bags, I was wearing a life jacket, and I had a strap holding my glasses to my face. However, there was a slight issue. As I popped out of the water, I couldn't see anything. I reached up to my head to feel for my glasses, and they were gone. For most people, this would not be a major issue, but I am extremely nearsighted. Like negative 9.25 nearsighted. My vision was now limited to a couple inches in front of me, but if I squinted hard enough, I could see the boat, my orange paddle, and a blurry line that was the shore. My first task was to get back in the boat, which I did surprisingly well. While this was happening, one of my friends had ditched the boat and was trying to dive down into the water while I had capsized in an effort to find my glasses. Eventually, all efforts to recover my glasses were fruitless, and I was now left sitting on the shore. The jagged mountains around me were now reduced to blobs. The river was now one giant strip with no distinguishable features. To make the situation even worse, our ride was gone, and the only way to get back into the town of Dos Rios would be to drag our boats upstream against the current. Even if we got to Dos Rios, there was no cell service, so we would have to hitchhike our way back into the town an hour away where our cars were. So our fate was sealed, and we had to go down the river. Speaking of fate, I'm not sure how my lip is going to be. I'm in the urgent care waiting room now. The cool blood has had enough time to solidify on my lip. There's a man next to me listening to the NBA draft really loudly on his phone. And no shame though, you gotta do what you gotta do. They gave me this cool name tag and wristband, and I feel like I'm at Disneyland or something. Apparently the wait is going to be really long, so I'm going to have plenty of time to work on my senior speech. Where was I? Ah yes, being partially blind. Initially, I was crushed. The hours of planning, driving, and waiting that had led up to this moment were now all for nothing because of my stupid mistake. I started to mentally beat myself up over it. However, after a while, I was left with the thought that what happened had happened and I couldn't change it. No matter how much I regretted it now, that wouldn't change anything. So I loaded my boat again, put on my life jacket, and got in. I realized that if I strained my eyes, I could still see the river enough to navigate. We once again left the shore, and now this time there was no going back. What followed was one of the most exhilarating experiences I have ever had. Now that I had already lost my glasses, the only thing left for me to fear was fear itself. I quite literally navigated each rapid blind, only knowing where to go by seeing the outline of the shore. I actually am glad that I wasn't able to see anything because I may have chickened out at the first glance of the rapids I hit. We spent the rest of the day in our flotilla venturing down the Eel River and set up camp along the sandy shore. While I couldn't see the stars at night or eat the food I was eating at dinner, I was still free to take in the world. I could hear the crickets chirping and the distant howls of animals. I could feel the cool ground under my body as I settled in for the night. In a way, losing my glasses was a gift in the sense that I was now given the freedom to take in my other senses with more attention. Well, now I'm at home. It turns out I didn't need stitches or anything, so that's good. My lip is a little bloody, but that's okay. The audience may be a bit confused now as I'm telling two separate stories, however, in my eyes, they are the same. I could have chosen tonight to curse myself for crashing my bike and focusing on my injury, but I found that it would be more productive to write my senior speech. This mentality is what has personally kept me going through the tough times this year, be it the pandemic, multiple wildfires, losing my glasses, or face planting on my bike. It doesn't matter if you take big risks in life, you will be met with hardship regardless. It is up to you how you choose to respond. I will end this speech with a quote from my middle school principal. Make it a great day or not, the choice is always yours. Thank you.